Hi, I'm Erin, and this is Our Wyoming Life.
The basement is a jungle of tomatoes, and they are ready to go in the ground. The tunnel, however, is not ready for long-term residents. Over the course of several days, Erin and I worked to rectify that situation. Soil amendments, tilling, water, and weed barrier have to happen first. A few long days of work now will help the tomatoes live a healthy life in the high tunnel for the next 6 months or so.
I'm so very ready to get some tomatoes into the ground. I want the sun on my back and my hands in the dirt. I've talked before about how planning and preparation is probably the most important thing about gardening. Soil is part of that preparation and one of the biggest factors in whether you will have a healthy and abundant crop. Mike and I will work to renew and reinvigorate the high tunnel soil. At times, it's a somewhat tedious process, but when it's done, it'll be a big step checked off the to-do list for this garden season. A clean slate is the first thing that needs to be accomplished. Everything in the tunnel that's not growing in the ground has to come out. Somehow, every year, a large amount of junk just accumulates in the tunnel. There's tools, buckets, trays, lettuce plugs, old landscape fabric, and trash. All of it comes out. There's also some lovely dead weeds left over from last summer. A good raking, and that's taken care of. Now I will spread this lovely pile of compost that's been hanging out in the tunnel for a while now. The Bobcat makes quick work of this process. Since the Bobcat can't safely maneuver around the row of lettuce, a wheelbarrow and shovel will be necessary. Mike made quick work of filling up the wheelbarrow, and I appreciate that, but now I can hardly move the wheelbarrow. So that was super fun. All the compost gets spread. Since I know that the edges will be used for a walkway, I try to not spread it over the edges. No point in wasting good compost where nothing will be growing. Next, we will add some leaves that I raked up last fall. If you have access to leaves in the fall, make sure you grab them up. They have several amazing gardening uses. Leaves are packed full of trace minerals that trees draw from deep in the soil. Leaves feed hungry earthworms and beneficial microbes. They lighten heavy soils and help sandy soils retain moisture. Leaves can also make an attractive mulch in the flower garden, and they're a fabulous source of carbon to balance the nitrogen in your compost pile. If you have a leaf shredder, run the leaves through it first. The smaller the leaf, the faster it will break down and work its magic. Running them through a lawnmower in the fall also works great. Most of these Mike chopped up, but a few bags he didn't get through. It's not the end of the world. Mike and I attempt to spread the leaves evenly in the tunnel. Out next comes the tiller. This is the only time that the tunnel gets tilled. One tilling a year to work in soil amendments is all that you really need. Over-tilling can break down soil structure and bring dormant weed seeds to the surface. Nobody needs that. Tilling in the tunnel is always a fun event. Dry soil and a somewhat enclosed space makes for a lovely dust cloud. So, in hindsight, I should definitely have covered the lettuce with the row cover before we tilled. The dust cloud covered the plants, and the tiller blew leaves into the row. I unbury everything and water it to get the dust off. Again, remember that this is my first time winter gardening. I've never had to work around an existing crop when prepping the tunnel. Next year, I will avoid dusty lettuce, row cover, and then till. I always learn new things in the garden. Now we are on to our water project. I use drip irrigation for all my watering in the tunnel. Mike gets the fun job of untangling last year's lines. I made him a map of where all the rows are going to go and where the drip line needs to be placed. Luckily for him, the plan has not changed from last year, so he doesn't have to rebuild any lines. This is where planning comes into play. I know exactly how everything needs to be spaced out. A tape measure and string are essential in getting the water lines all laid out. After the drip is all laid out, we are ready to turn on the water. After about 15 trips to the well house and a few broken water lines, we've got water. New batteries in the timers, and they are working. I'm going to turn on each zone and see if all the emitters are working. The drip line is 1/4 inch with emitters every 12 inches. Every year some of the emitters quit working and we know that they will have to be replaced, so I am prepared with replacement parts. It's pretty simple to replace an emitter. Just cut it out, get a new one from a brand new line, then use a connector and place the new emitter back in the line. This job can get a bit tedious, but it has to be done. Plants have to have water or they die. Even the blackest thumb knows this simple rule. It's definitely worth the time it takes to make sure that everything is working well with the drip line. Every few years, we will just replace the entire line, but I try to make them last 3 to 4 years. 50-foot of drip line isn't expensive, but I need 500 feet to cover everything. With that much, the cost does add up quickly. Once we get all the broken emitters replaced, landscape fabric gets laid down. I use landscape fabric in the tunnel because, to be honest, I just don't have time to pull weeds in here. The landscape fabric drastically cuts down on my weed problem. A few weeds will pop up in the holes that I cut for the plants and in the walkways, but that's it. The landscape fabric also helps retain soil temperature and moisture. Behind me is a prepped and ready high tunnel, a blank slate ready for 205 tomatoes, 160 peppers, and 70 feet of cucumber seeds. It took us 3 days to accomplish everything that went into this end result. I hated all 3 days. Everything that we did had to be done. It was all absolutely essential. There are some things that I love about gardening, but prep is not one of them. I just want to plant. I am so tired of talking about dirt. How did this happen? This isn't even my first video talking about soil prep and dirt, and I just talked to you for the last 9 minutes about dirt. Does anybody even care? I sure hope you do, and I hope somebody might learn something along the way. All right, I am done with the dirt for now. Next video, we'll be planting tomatoes, I promise. Make sure you subscribe and so you don't miss it, and like us on Facebook for exclusive content throughout the week. Thanks for watching all the dirt talk and for joining me in Our Wyoming Life.